Hello guys, welcome. Welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Teachings. Hope everybody having a great day. All right guys, another volatile day, up and down day. We had a couple of losers at the open in the morning, but midday was pretty good. Midday was actually pretty nice with the banks short and few market short, few other setups, and there were also some calls in the midday which I'll show you. I didn't play the calls, but had a solid play in the morning on Oracle that we're going to recap. But and yeah, let's go. So just before I start, quick introduction for anybody who's new to my community, new to my Twitter, new to my YouTube. We all these trade recaps that I'm going to recap either from any trades that I take or any trades that my community, my traders in my community are taking. Those are the ones we recap. Anything I share on Twitter, on YouTube, or in my community, all these trades and ideas and teachings are from there. We trade a repeatable system. In our community. So we trade a repeatable system. So we always trade a repeatable system, and which thousands of traders across the world use my repeatable system to trade consistently, make money in the stock market consistently, keeping the losers small and winners big. That's what we do. And our setups. What are setups? Setups is what you trade. System is how you trade. Our setups are also repeatable, right? Based upon the system, EMA Clouds, we have repeatable setup, which trigger on the certain parameters, and we take them. We either long or short, buy calls or puts, but we do it again and again and again and again. As if you're new, you watch my previous videos. I have all the recaps from over 1 year plus. You will learn a lot. You will, especially for the day trading, you'll become an expert if you follow the system. So every day we have a all day game plan. Based upon the game plan we trade. This was today's game plan. There was a bunch of news today, bunch of upgrades, downgrades, and there was a lot of news. You can see the banks news was right here. Big news on the banks. So the news on banks. Oracle had earnings. Then we had Amazon and AMD. The Goldman's reiterated their conviction buy rating. So there was a bunch of other stuff. All of them will not trigger. I will not trade all of them. For example, for me today, main trades was Oracle, Amazon and the banks. But anything that triggers looks good. I try to tell my community, and we try to trade off those. Anything that doesn't trigger, we don't trade it. So I think GAME was good as well today. A bunch of other names were there which were moving, but everybody in my community trades something. I can't cover everything, but our community, a lot of great traders in community. They're always calling out a lot of great trades. We will review them. 1,000+ traders on our trading floor every day, sharing trade ideas from the morning till the evening, till the close. Beautiful trading community there with it. Helping each other, no ego. So anyways, but I'm on voice. After this is my game plan I showed you. Then I have our day to day 3 setups. I didn't really focus on too much on day to day 3 setups. There was a PLTR which didn't really work. It was a choppy in the morning, so it didn't really work, but we'll talk about that as well. There was definitely some good day-to-day 3 setups like SMMT, TERN, which I discussed in yesterday's video as well. So we'll talk about those and see how they went. In addition to that, I also have shared daily levels, cryptos, coin, MSTR. Then I share the levels for SPY, QQQ, IWM, Netflix, Boeing, Amazon, Meta, everything, and guiding the traders through the trade and the market commentary, what to short, what to long, and when to short, when to long. And of course, most of my traders know my system, so they know the setups, and that's how we are ready in the pre-market with all this stuff 15 to 20 minutes before the market open. We also share low float and penny watch lists. We have a low float trade floor. A lot of our traders are trading low floats there. Actually, there's one low float. QH just went crazy in after hours from our watch list. So we try to provide opportunities to every kind of the trader in the community, so they can trade all kind of setups that show up. So I'll show you my timestamp comments or commentary in my alerts feed, my dedicated alert feeds. I cannot really show you what I talked on the voice. For that, you have to join the community and see how we do it every day. Anyways, that's introduction. Let's start with the first play of the day. So I'm going to start with the QQQ. We're going to start with the QQQ amateur move loser. amateur loser for me, but we'll see how that goes. And we'll talk about SPY later. So let's first talk about QQQ. So what was going on? Let's look at our VIX strategy. So what was our VIX strategy this morning? So our VIX strategy was simple. The plan was simple. That let's look here. Plan was simple. VIX under 19, 1910. Market can bounce. VIX can fade to 18. Before it bounces. So that was the plan. So when the market opened, VIX was kind of weak. And showing a little weakness here. Let's see. Where's the open? So right here, right? So VIX was kind of showing little weakness, but then it started to hold the lows. So I was actually long on QQQs at the open, long, and because I was looking at the breakout, and this is an amateur move, right? Amateur move, when it doesn't work, you have to cut it right away. So I was long, but when I saw this rejection of the candle, I exited. Even though there's a support right here, I didn't want to take a risk, so I exited. So that was a loser call in the morning. But the good thing was we were very careful after this. We were very careful on a SPY. I told everybody, do not long SPY, right? So you can see this QQQ, what was happening. We'll talk about the short later as well, but let's talk about SPY. So as you see, SPY was definitely heavier than QQQ, right? And even though QQQ was bouncing from the MTF clouds, you can see here bouncing from MTF clouds, and it's bouncing, going up, was bouncing like $1, $2, right? From 455.50 was bouncing to 457. So it was a good bounce scalp. You could keep scalping versus the MTF cloud, but I was not interested because SPY was so heavy. And SPY was heavy because VIX started to push breakout, right? So I did mention that on the floor that VIX holding 19, watch out. So I gave that warnings after 5 minutes. I gave that warnings, watch out. So that's why I was saying do not long. Right. So you see that, right? Even if that was not working, we know we were not like going crazy buying calls. We were not like going crazy long. We were not, we were very cautious. So we were very cautious. And especially for SPY, yes, I tried QQQ. That too, I left once I lost there on that trade. But it's important to understand what VIX was doing and what SPY was doing. So that's very important. So it's very important to understand what SPY was doing, QQQ doing. This market has been very volatile. So let's see what happened, right? So that was my warning that VIX 19, watch out. And after that, VIX dumped, right? Or SPY dumped right there. And when did the dump happen? Look here. When did the dump happen? Dump happens 10 a.m. like clockwork. If you remember my 10 a.m. concept, dump happened right at 10 a.m. A lot of traders in the community were doing their short. I think Tape was on that short as well. Let's see, a lot of traders were doing that 512 morning shorts on SPY. If I can find out, let's see if I can find out. So yeah, so Tape was guiding the short. He was on the puts right at 10 a.m. when 512 was breaking down. So you see that so you see that the breaking down, and Tape was guiding everybody. It gets a little confusing with the MTF clouds. I'm just gonna remove the MTF clouds just because today it was like a weird because there's a support MTF cloud. It's hard to get a clarity on the trades. But anyways, so he bought the puts. He was long on the puts on SPX puts, and then when he flushed, his puts really went from like 420 to $5, and then they went higher, 550. So that was a really good trade, and he guided the community on that call, and it was kind of a gap fill. You see there was a gap, right? So this was also a gap fill trade that you can see. So that's how you navigate the market. That's fine. The long is not working, but the point is to be short here. And in our community, it's not about, we don't handle out alerts, entry exits. I try to make consistent traders who can trade on their own, right? So if you of course there was a guidance on the floor, but if you can short it, this is a good morning trade. Two concepts here: VIX 10 a.m. and 512. You combine these concepts, you have good trades. So after that, SPY didn't really do anything. SPY didn't do anything, but middle of the day, I saw this chart setting up. Let's see if I can show you on. Let's see, I can show you on Twitter as well. I alerted this setup as well. Let's see if I can find it. to show you guys. Let's see here. So I'm just trying to find that setup we did. Okay, you see that, right? So you see this was the setup. This was stuck, right? You see the downtrend line. There's a downtrend channel, uptrend channel, but there's a trend line, there's a support, so that can break, give us a short. MTF cloud break can give it a short. We were not doing anything here because it was bouncing, right? Market bouncing off the support, right? So that was the thing. And then suddenly, right? So this is fine. So you watch this. Then suddenly what happens is the VIX started to break out of this area, 20 area. So now usually you wouldn't take the short because it's a choppy, but you can always take a short here. Your risk is over here. Even if you chase, you can add half position. But as soon as you see VIX going, you just have to make that judgment call and take it. Let me show you. Even in the community, I said here is why market is short, right? Here is why market is short, because it's breaking the trend line. So that's what I was talking about. Let's see if I can show you again here. Let's see here, right? Here is why market is short, and I was already talking about it on the voice. So you see that this is the short right here or here, because this time VIX was pushing. And I told everybody VIX 20.30 area is the key. As long as VIX is over 20, market will be heavy. And between just 5 minutes, the market flushed further. And that's how you make money, right? That was a setup. So morning short setup, don't do anything later, cover here, then midday short setup. So two short setups right there. So that was the short setups, right? So that's how we are doing those consistent trades on the market, doing the shorts. A lot of traders did the puts on that, and then the puts paid them nicely. A lot of traders had a really good day in the community. They're learning. So that's really nice, really nice and good to see. And so that was our short setup in midday, right? So hopefully everybody got it. So let's look at the bounce right now. So now I'm going to put the MTF clouds back, and we can just take all this everything off. This market is very volatile. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity if you're just scalping up and down, right? I mean, the was set up here, and then there's a curl here. So what was happening with the curl? Remember, this is the VIX big level 20 area. Once VIX broke this 20 area, and then it goes up, and that gives you conviction to do these curls at this 512 curls. Right? A lot of people tell me, hey Rip, how you get a proper entry? You watch this push and you add this pullback, right? You watch this push, you add this pullback. As it moves up, your stops are right here. I've shown it many times. You have done it many times live as well. Same thing. I was not interested today. I had good trade with the bank, so I didn't even focus on these the curls. But this was the curl, right? So this was the curl. I did send up a lot of alerts on curls, like there was a QQQ alert. There was, let's see if I can find the price alerts I sent. So there was this QQQ alert, which once went over the clouds as bullish. So if you see that, how cleanly the clouds worked. And because VIX is breaking 20, just like VIX was breaking up 20, you could take the long shorts, and just VIX was breaking down, you could take the shorts. So, but you don't have to take trades right here in this job. You don't have to take the trade here because you don't really know what it's going to do. But you can take trade here. You don't have to find the bottom. And then 3450 holds. That's a 3450 setup, and then you can keep taking it long there. So so that was the complete life cycle of SPY and QQQ today, right? A lot of these things moved. AMD moved from the MTF cloud bounces, right? Curled over 35.12. So that was a nice trade if somebody took it. We'll talk about some other plays as well, but a lot of the things moved and curled, and I'm proud of a lot of traders in the community which took those calls themselves. Right, Amazon never broke 3450 all day, bounced from there, and SPY reclaimed the MTF clouds. So anyways, so we are over the MTF clouds now. Tomorrow is very important. I didn't want to take any big risk into tomorrow, but I want some volatility, right? I want some volatility. SPY is kind of technically bullish, but we don't know yet, right? If we break back, if we break under can't get over 550, then it's, it's going to come back. I would hate to see a gap up. It increases our risk. I'd rather see a gap down, hold that, and try to curl it, gap down back to maybe around MTF clouds, or somewhere here. So I don't know what market will do, but again, we will use our VIX analysis tomorrow. 19 is important, 20 is important. If VIX breaks 18, that is important. So we'll see happen. The problem here is VIX is still not trying to give up 19. So this means that market participants are still kind of bearish on the market. So tomorrow CPI, day after PPI. I'm not comfortable for the swings yet, although there are some setup looking nicely. And then there's I think jobless continuing claims data, and next week we have our rate cut announcement. So lots going on, guys. A lot of opportunities to be in the market. This was a recap of all SPY QQQ. Try to spend a little more time on SPY QQQ. Let's go to the next one. All right, let's now talk about one of the losers we had today. So let's talk about the losers today. Another loser was NVIDIA. It was with QQQ, right? Again, another amateur move loser. When I saw NVIDIA was going, I told everybody that we can long NVIDIA, but it failed right away. I know 34.50 is a support, but you had to take the risk. I lost like $1.50 on a couple thousand shares there. That's fine, but that was a loser today. And NVIDIA didn't really do anything. It did curl later in the day. I was not interested in NVIDIA. Such a small range. It's trading like, what's the ATR? Even ATR is trading like $4, $2, $3 range. Even it's bouncing from 105. It's barely bouncing to like 107. So not a big range on NVIDIA. So I've been not liking it recently. But anyways, let's go to the next one. All right, let's talk about our mega winner today, Oracle. I love these setups. These are A+ setups. I have often talked about these setups. Why was Oracle A+ setup? There are many reasons Oracle was A+ setup. If you watch my earning webinar, I covered there. If you're my old follower, I have covered this. I have covered this again and again, many times, not the first time, the A+ setup. I'm very proud of some of my old followers who know that this is my A+, my most profitable setup ever, right? There are many examples of this. You can go look, and we always make crazy money on these setups. I literally remember the plays that we have done on these setups. Anyways, let's look here. So Oracle had a Q1 results beat estimates. Support was 150, resistance was 154, long over 150, gap fill under that. That's simple. 150 BO means breakout. So that's what I was waiting for. Last one earning Oracle did chop us, but not today. We were ready. So as soon as I saw that it held that, and I took a long, I took a long there, and then, and it just kept going, and then there was no reason. So here you go, right? No reason. As it moved forward, I told everybody lock 1/3. Usually I'd add more into the position, but that's fine. Half sizes was okay. So next target was 158. Then we went 158. Next target, I told everybody to roll to 160, right? At this candle, I said you can roll to 160. Even 160 went 50%. 155 calls 150%. I don't learn the calls. If somebody asks, I can tell them. But our community is most of traders, I educate them to know the options, what options to take. So maybe in future I will add some options watch list, so the people, if they need the strikes, I can provide them that. But anyways, right? So and it was a trade. Even if you're a small account, right? Even if you take 50 trades, right? You buy here, your stops are right under that 152. When I'm buying here, my 150 stop is a little wide. I will most likely stop out at the 34.50 clouds under 152. If I'm buying the dip, if there was a 150 dip right here, yes, then I would have risked 150. But right away started to break out. It gave me a confidence. I said long it. I told everybody to long it, and then it kept on going. It hit 160. We made enough profit. We bought some. I always tell that if you made 5 grand, 10 grand, to take 1,000 out of that profit and buy the other lottos, who knows if Oracle capital running to 165, they go to zero, that's fine. So final lotto did not work, but by that time we had already made $5 per share profit and 100% and 50% on the calls. So that was it. And after that, it did give you another 512 bounce trade. A lot of traders were taking that bounce, very proud of them, and after that it was done. Some traders took this 512 breakdown, it tried to flag, but after that mostly Oracle was done. There was nothing really left on Oracle, but A+ setup, right? this was only earning setup. And some people tell me, hey Rip, how would I focus on Oracle? You need to focus on Oracle. Oracle is one of the famous stock. Oracle is the only stock that had earnings today, and when there's a famous stock, there's always the number one priority. That's why I highlight it. You see I have colored it as brown because I want to highlight it as the main play of of the day. So anyways, big win on Oracle. Let's go to the next one. All right, let's talk about next one. Next one, I'm going to talk about PLTR. PLTR day two, kind of choppy today, chopped up. So it was breaking down. I liked it for a short, even though I didn't have like full conviction on the short, but it was bouncing. It was bouncing, bouncing, bouncing. There was no this rejection, and then the short didn't really work. If you had short here, it pulled higher. Yes, you could short here if you waited, but if you had an entry right here, it was a problem, so you had to cut the short when it pulled over the top. Ideally, you want to see a red candle. You want to see red candle here, then you can short it, but we never saw the red candle. So the bearish idea in the morning was kind of, I mean, it's okay if you short it right away, but it was kind of a loser if you short it here. Yes, after that it was short, back up, short, back up. Was kind of weird, but yeah, kind of got chopped out in the Palantir in the morning. There was some news. I did scalp it. There was some news that Peter Thiel was selling, so we did scalp that. All right, let's go to the next one. So next one we're going to discuss is Amazon. So Amazon was, my long idea this morning. Reason Amazon was long because of course we have these levels that I gave everybody. Amazon was Goldman Sachs conviction buy rating, so that was why. And our levels on Amazon were pretty straightforward. 177.94 was breakout, 178.38 was breakout, and there was also an MTF cloud breakout there. So those were the breakouts which were working. So Amazon long in the morning, right at the open, right, push, pushing higher, 10 a.m. Target I gave was HOD, right, and then 180. We did not see 180, but we did see almost close there. So it was a decent move, not crazy. I mean, you could make 20-30% on the 30% on the calls, and there was a flow as well alerted by the ghost board today as well. There was a flow alerted on Amazon there, so that was helpful as well, and was a good trade. But then the market puked at 10 a.m. right at 10 a.m. the market puked, and then you see that after 10 a.m. rejects. But Amazon never ever, we did see the high of the day target broke the trend. You could always trade this MTF, not MTF, you could trade this 3450 bounce, and later in the day it pushed with the market as well. Beautiful setup. I do like Amazon very well if market turns bullish. This is the first time that this is rise daily chart on Amazon. No idea what CPI does, but I really like this setup on Amazon here for tomorrow. So anyways, that was the Amazon long in the morning. Wow, Google's still very bearish. So let's go to the next one. All right, the next one we're going to discuss is Tesla. Tesla. So Tesla was long in the morning, right? So that was the morning long. You can see there 932s, which was our pivots on Tesla. Let's see there. So Tesla had a news, lower proposed tariffs, so there was a bullish news, so that helps. And then Tesla had our breakout level 220.36, 222.32, and then those levels are breaking out with the EMA Clouds, and there's a nice little flag from the pre-market. That's what I really like. That's why I told everybody Tesla over pivots, mature longs, and the 225 was the target I gave. There was a lot of flow on Tesla as well. I think there was a flow by Ghost board today on Tesla. I just have to find it. Maybe let's see. Okay. Yeah. So there was some flow on the floor. Let me see if I can show you here. Yeah, flow helped too. I looked at a lot of Tesla flow as well in the morning when it was going. So there was Amazon flow and there was Tesla flow. So that flow kind of worked out for Tesla because Tesla kind of pushed right in towards the 225 target that I gave. So Tesla was a nice morning long, held the trend. We pushed higher. There was enough time to make money all the way from 221s, 225s. You could easily make nice 50% on the calls and nice $4 per share profit, risking $1. You run dollars there. The NVDA didn't work. Same setup. Tesla worked, right? So that's something you have to know the difference. All right, so next one we're going to discuss is AVGO. So AVGO was another one which was very good long this today. I was very confident about AVGO, and because AVGO was the one of the best movers. So one thing I do is when the market is bullish, the semiconductors are bullish, I take a look at like what semiconductor is most bullish, right? I go through all the semiconductors, and I like the AVGO the most because AVGO was having more strength, and not only that, AVGO had, AVGO had MTF cloud breakout. So it initially did push to 146. It did dip back to 152. So you can always exit there, but later in the day, or you can use the 143 stops that I gave, right? So I gave everybody 143 stops. So if you don't want to exit that, because remember, we added right at the open, so it was like, you have so much room, so you can give some room, and then it reclaimed, you get back in. And I told everybody AVGO is still the best semiconductor today. I kept on repeating that, and AVGO went on to 149 bucks from almost from the 140, 141, 41 bucks. So that was a beautiful, beautiful trade. I'm very proud of this, because other thing you have to note is that on the daily chart, if you note here, let's see if I can show you guys. Let's see. I want to show you the gap. So there was a gap, right? So that gap kind of, there was a gap on daily chart. So that gives us added confidence that there was a gap. So let's look at next one was a boot, which was the long kind of did not really work because it failed after the amateur move. There was no long. Remember the amateur move, right? So boot was on our watch, bullish bias on the pullback, cautious of 512 break. So I already made everybody cautious of the 512 break, which I will show you. So let's see. So the amateur was long, right? So if you took the amateur move long, that was kind of a loser for us. But it didn't really give a pullback to long because this was heavy red candles. And when it broke the 512s, that was a problem. When it broke this, I said fails, no long, and you could short it. It's bearish, and then it broke, went to 3450, which is always our target. So you could always short that, and then there's a 3450 bounce. I told that this is at 3450, and you can take that bounce. I think RGV was on top of it today, or Booty was on top of it. Let's see who was on top. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, very nice. Yeah, RGV and others were on top of it in the community, but you can see the setup, right? Just want to show you the setup. It was a 512 break setup, and then there's a 3450 bounce setup. So literally two setups there on boot that you could trade. All right, so now I'm going to talk about the banks, okay? So what did the banks do today? This was the main trade which actually made our day really nice. So banks were selling off all day because there was a news, right? I'm not going to go full into the news, but if I want to see that, let's see if I can show you the news on the financial sector. What was the news? Let's look again here. I'm just trying to find the news. But anyways, the short-term news that was that US banks were rising because capital requirements has been eased, so, right? So capital requirements were eased by the Fed, the government. So that's bullish for the banks, right? So it's not going into depth of it, but it was bullish. It was gapping up. But we don't just get our bias based upon its gapping up. We watch our cloud system. That's why I highlighted the banks in the pre-market game plan. I told everybody to watch all the banks on the clouds, right? And I have my blanks watch list every day ready. You can see these all my banks right here. I can browse through the banks fast, right? BLK, Xeon, Charles Schwab, Bank of America, Regional Bank ETF, Wells Fargo, Morgan Stanley. You look at the Citigroup, look at the sell-off on Citigroup, look at the Goldman Sachs, huge sell-off, right? So that was all day, I was talking about the banks in the community. And of course, XLF was the short right away at the open. You can just short XLF, buy the puts, whatever. But later, JPM CEO was talking something and he tanked it further. He said something bad, the news bot came in and he tanked it, I will talk about the JPM later, but let me focus on the XCLF first. So XCLF is breaking 3450, breaking 1 hour clouds. I did mention that nice short as per the game plan. So to watch the game plan, you short it under the clouds. You know it has a news. It will have a volatility. Then the JPM hit. I keep talking XLF heavy, XLF bear flag, financials still a short. XLF more lows. So XLF was a short, right? You can short XLF or you can short the KRE. This is a regional bank ETF. So when banks move, they move really nicely because all the banks is at all-time high. The charts are crazy, man. Just to look at any chart, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, they're just crazy, right? So you could literally short anything because we had a news, we had a gap up. Don't worry about the news, worry about the system. Because there's a news, there's something else in the news that we don't know. Traders don't like it, and then the JP Morgan CEO said something. We don't even care about. Even if we didn't hear JP Morgan CEO saying something, XLF was still a short. You have this watch list. Make your watch list on the banks. Literally make money on any of those trades. Any of those trades. Look at the range on Citigroup. Look at the range on Morgan Stanley. You could literally make 100% on these puts. Even we're going to talk about JPM. You could literally do that. So that was the bank short, huge winner. Again, that's what I try to teach everyone. The find opportunities, find opportunities. Don't want somebody to come to you and spoon feed you, oh, buy this, put for this. No. Find opportunities, execute with the system. That's what our community about. Our community has 1,000+ traders. Everybody is trading something else. I'm very proud of the traders who were short on banks today. I really loved it, the way a lot of the traders were shorting, the banks. I loved it. Beautiful, beautiful job. All right, next I'm going to talk about JPM. JPM was a home run trade for us. Beautiful, beautiful trade. It was more or less on the voice, and then I'm just going to go back to, one of my tweets. It's easier for me trying to wrap up this video. Let's look here. Okay, so let's see. So JPM, the CEO said something, Newsbot came in, XLF is already weak, JPM is breaking MTF1 cloud, MTF2 cloud. I gave the target of 205. XLF is already heavy. JP Morgan CEO says something and it's more heavy. 205 target, 202 target, and I was talking about on the voice that we can go much lower. If you miss the initial short, that's fine. Take 1/3 position, 1/4 position, take a small position, you short it, right? A lot of traders did amazing in the community on JPM. Beautiful trade. And after that, when we hit 200, that was my final target. I told everybody short is done. I looked at the book map. There were a lot of buyers there, and I found an opportunity that I can probably have a less risk and make some scalps there, and that's what I did. I went long. I also had shares, I also have calls. I started actually before that, before the 512 calls, because sometimes you have to make a judgment call based upon the buyers, the book map. The worst case was it goes to 201 and I stop out. That's fine. I take that calculated risk. But there was a buyer there, and the market starts bouncing at the same time. XLF starts bouncing, the banks start bouncing, and the JP Morgan call, went on to pay, 80%. You can see my calls here. I can show you my exit too later, but that was my target. So that was my target, and we pushed 206 was my target. I didn't want to hold overnight, but we might bounce tomorrow more, but I just wanted to move on. CPI would definitely move it, but had a nice trades, $4, $4 or $5 bounce, and there was a $6, $7, $8 more than that, $10 if you were early short on JPM. Home run trade. These are the opportunities that you wait for and execute, and in our community we are always on top of it, basically because of the news. Let's go to the next one. So next, quickly, two tickers I want to talk about is SMMT and then was TERN. And this is all shout out to great trader in the community, Daniel, who was all over that. Daniel, he was all over that. His guidance. Of course, I had both SMMT and TERN used as my day 2 setups. These are biotechs. Biotechs with the news always continue to move because it's a big fundamental change for them. They are good day 1, day 2, day 3 setup. Anything they say on FDA approvals, any medication or anything, right? It's always bullish. And TERN was even more bullish because TERN was, had a good news, and we were long yesterday, good fundamentals, and it did an offering, and an offering got bought up. I did mention it that it's very bullish. When this offering gets bought up, it's very bullish. And shout out to Daniel all day today. He had his guidance on. Let's go back to. Let me show you first SMMT. See how his guidance was. Although I had my SMMT price alerts on there for the traders. You see that, right? So SMT day 2 long. So here you go. SMT. This was the 1956 pivot break, right? When this pivot was breaking, I sent out the alerts because this was the trade 512 3450, and this was the long right here when this alert came in. But let's look at the guidance by Daniel, right? So let's see if let me see if I can find Daniel again here. So yeah, so you can see Daniel's guidance from the start. He was guiding everybody. For instance, the morning right here on this setup and this one, and you can follow his guidance. Very proud of. He's one of my old followers, but such a smart guy. And the next one was a TERN. I try to always give shout outs to the great traders in the community, because that's what we are about. We are a family of traders. There's no ego. We are not an alert service trying to say, oh, we give you make millions, we do this, do that, right? No, we are a family of traders trying to trade together, learn from each other, learn from mistakes, keep our winners bigger, losers small. And there was a TERN, right? So there was a TERN guidance all day, right? It was on our watch list. It's on our game plan. Daniel is a specialist for the biotech, and very proud of him. You can actually follow him on Twitter as well. So anyways, those were all the trades today, guys. Beautiful day. It turned out to be a beautiful day. Tomorrow's going to be crazy fun CPI tomorrow. Take care. Thank you. Bye bye.